Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council's monthly meeting. Today, Monday, November 7th, 2022. Tonight, we have two presentations. The first presentation is given by Ben Echevarria, who is our new Executive Director for Mattapan Square Main Streets. And I will let Ben introduce himself. And I believe we also have Nicole, I believe I did see Echevarria. Is she on screen? Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. I didn't see.
Yes, I'm here. Yep.
No, the Zoom screen keeps shifting. She is the president of the Mattapan Square Main Streets Board. Ben, if you would like to start, or Nicole, I'm not sure how you wanted to start this evening. It's completely up to you.
Doesn't matter. We can go ahead and kick it off. Thanks, everyone. Thank you to Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council for giving us the time to share and kind of just reintroduce ourselves. A lot of you guys know that Mattapan Square Main Streets has been around for a while, but we are really in a process of rebranding and redeveloping. And with that, we definitely want to make sure that, we hear from you guys and really begin to visualize and understand from you, from our businesses, what we want to see in Mattapan Square. What is our vision of Mattapan Square? A lot of times, we go to these meetings and I hear a lot of what we don't want, or I hear folks a lot, they come and they have a lot of proposals. Well, this is a different type of meeting. We really want to hear and begin to collaborate and work with all the organizations around to begin to develop our vision of Mattapan Square. And it's going to take a while, but we're going to take it step by step and just beginning to understand and find out what works for us. We have a lot of development, a lot of proposals coming in, but we want to stay unique to our identity. And first, we have to understand what is our identity, and then keep that and be consistent with that vision across all of the Mattapan organizations. So as we begin to rebrand and redevelop, first piece of that was bringing on an executive director, and that's Ben. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself and kind of we'll just take it from there. All right.
Thank you, Nicole, and hello, everyone. I'm Ben Echevarria, and I'm the executive director over at Mattapan Square Main Streets. A couple different things. I think, like Nicole said, is that we're sort of in the middle of the beginnings, I would say, of a rebrand of who Mattapan Square Main Streets is. And a lot of that is, because of you all that are here, where, I'm walking into meetings and Lincoln and Nicole and others on the board are going into meetings, and we're hearing more and more what people want from the square. And, it's making us think, well, what do we want in the square? And, I'm sure I was actually at one of your board meetings where the city presented Plan Mattapan. And that will be a brand new way of introducing the square and creating the square in a unique way that can actually bring businesses in. And also it's a place where we can really start to begin to think about what do we think of Mattapan Square. So a little bit about myself. Before this, I was the executive director of the Welcome Project in Somerville, Massachusetts. I worked on a lot of policy issues, namely, currently my pride and joy is actually now on the ballot. It's question 4. I pushed and started years ago to get the Driver's License Act moving again after it stalled about 6 years ago by myself and a woman named Laquisha Tracy for the Brazilian Worker Center. We started talking to some state reps about reintroducing the bill, what it would mean, which then formed a coalition, blah, blah, blah. And then, 5 years later, we got a bill passed, and now people came back and decided to make it a ballot initiative. So if you haven't voted yet, remember that question 4, which we can talk about because it's an issue, not a politician. It's you want to vote in support of keeping that bill. So just to be clear, again, I am now here with Mattapan Square Main Streets, and the beauty here is that we have some fun things. The zoning plan that occurred, it had really started to launch this question both in my head, the board members' heads, and sort of everyone's head. What could Mattapan Square look like? So I think what I would like to do is start off with a survey. Nicole, do you have the link for the survey? If not,
Yes,
I
I
can pull it
do.
up.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat.
Yep.
And
And
for those of
basically-
you, I'm sorry, I was just saying,
No.
and for those of you who don't get it in the chat, Fatima, I will also share with you to kind of just push out there as well. This is not, if you didn't do it today, you don't get to take it. It's going to be an ongoing link that folks can fill out. Sorry, Ben.
Thank you.
And basically what we're starting to talk about is the beginning of what Mattapan Square could look like, what Mattapan Square can be. So we started putting together a short survey, asking some of these questions directly, like what are things you want to see? What are, like one question, like what types of restaurants would you like to see? Things like sit down cafes, more takeout joints or less takeout joints. All those questions are there. And then, like what other things like attractions, a movie theater, a theater, a, bowling alley, whatever it is. What are things that you would like to see in Mattapan Square? So if Nicole, you can pull it up, or I have it here as well.
Yep. No, I went ahead and put the link in. Sorry, it took a little bit.
Okay.
Is that something you wish to share your screen?
You want me to share it on the screen?
If it
Oh, sure, sorry.
assists
Yep.
you, if it assists you, you can. Feel free.
Yeah, to the Google form link. Yeah, I could. 1 second.
You might have done this wrong, Nicole. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Sorry, 1 second. I'll let you take the lead on that. But the link I put in the chat is, oh, okay, David, thank you. It's saying that you must have a Google account to take the survey.
Yeah, I can.
We'll open it up to make sure that it's accessible to everyone. Thank you, David, for that note. So we'll take a moment and open that up and.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you right now. I'll put it in chat.
Yep.
This is the short version. If somebody can click on that, because for me, it's nope, it's still saying the same thing. Why is it saying that? Hang on. Apologies. Oh, she's gonna publish this.
While you're working on, I can go ahead and share my screen and kind of just show everybody as you go through what it will look like. But it's a basic survey that we ask that, folks just enter in your email, your first and last name, and then come here and then just answer several questions. And we're going to open it up tonight as well for some discussion so folks can, be able to talk directly. But, if you want to make sure you get your information in or your comments in, basically we want to know if you're a resident of Mattapan, if you're a business owner, what's the name of your business? When you think of Mattapan Square, what comes to mind? It's a little short answer. As Ben was saying, what kind of restaurants would you like to see in the square? Again, leaving that space for, any other suggestions. These are just kind of going off of things that we have heard from folks. What type of attraction you want to see in the square? What's your vision for Mattapan Square? And then if you are interested in volunteering and, being part of our emailing list, you know, you also have that option as well. And as been mentioned, kind of this is just the beginning of a conversation that we're having as we begin to take your information back, you know, review it with the board and really, you know, talk about next steps. But this is only going to be the beginning of us coming to you guys and having you all part of this process as we build out kind of the vision and what we would like to see in Mattapan Square. Okay. So yeah, if it's not working just yet, Ben, I can work on it, but I don't know if you guys want to open it up to discussion on the vision.
Sure, if you can stop sharing your screen.
Yeah,
That would
I'm
be
about
helpful,
to.
Lauren. Okay. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Matthew, for the survey work fine. But yeah, we can go ahead and just kind of just overall to see if you guys had any questions or your just kind of short answers on what you would like to see. And Fatima, would you want us to raise our hands and you pick or?
Yeah, if people would raise their hands and I will call the roll. First, Nicole Daly. If you would like to unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry there might be a little bit of background noise.
No problem.
So just wanting to think about Mattapan Square, I feel like it's a pass-through. Like I don't see it as a destination. I know a lot of people come, there's a lot of buses, a depot, but it just doesn't feel like it was designed for people to really be there and spend time there. So I know there's a lot of takeout restaurants, but like what I would love to see is it have a feeling of, you know, a place you can go on a Friday night to go out to eat, you know, a place where you might go and grab something and spend some time. So like the different types of restaurants that affords, cafes, places that you can sit down is what I kind of envision and would love to see in the square. Because right now I don't think I ever go for anything aside, you know, anything that's utilitarian. And even then it's just short, pop in and pop out. But there's nowhere that feels like it's beautified in a way that makes me feel like I'd want to spend some time there. And so really wanting to see the space also beautified, like wanting to see there more unity in the shorefront. So like if it needs to be, you know, a unique looking Rainbow 21, like they should spend money, like it should be beautiful. Like I feel like for people of color, they never want to beautify our spaces. So if you're going to be a small business in there, it needs to look beautiful. Like we want to spend time, even if it's the same businesses, because I don't want businesses to have to leave just to make space, but it should look beautiful. It should look really nice and inviting people to like spend time and not just pass through.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment, Nicole. And we agree too. I think, you know, the one thing as we begin to you know, reorganize or redevelop is, you know, how do we, as we hear what you guys want, how do we make sure the existing businesses or could the existing businesses actually fulfill, you know, some of these items that we want? And if they don't, then what is the gaps? What are they missing? And that's how we are going forth, kind of starting to create programming to assist businesses, to bring them up to par, to bring them up to code. You know, and just kind of identify kind of what their shortfalls are as well. So yeah, there's a lot, but thank you.
One, if you had trouble with the survey, it's fixed now. It's never happened to me with a Google survey before, so apologies. Two, to echo what Nicole was saying, you know, one of the things that we've been actually talking about also is developing some sort of code of ethics, and what does that mean for businesses in terms of you know, how they relate to customers, how they relate to the community, and you know, how they relate to actually each other as well. So you know, I do think that it's important that you know, we do start talking about what's inviting, what, you know, what excites people and will want them to keep coming back to the square.
Thank you. I believe the order of hand now.
Yep.
Second is Laquisha. Third is Barbara Fischel, David Holness, and then Gina Pitts, if I believe in order.
Thank you. Thank you, Fatima. So I definitely echo what Nicole was saying, like as Mattapan being like a cut through, but I also feel like, you know, with Mattapan, people do walk like their dogs and stuff through there. So I would like to see something that is kind of like pet friendly when you're coming through there, because people, if they're going to spend time in Mattapan Square and we're going to beautify and make it nicer, I mean, we can't forget about people that do have animals that, you know, walk with their animals and, you know, might want outdoor seating because they have the animals. You know, you might not be able to do it in the winter, but definitely in the summer, and thinking about, you know, accommodating that in some kind of way, I think would be really nice. And I also agree with like the fine dining, like finding ways of us being able to spend time in Mattapan Square. And I'm thank you for also bringing up the point of what you're willing to do in order to change Mattapan Square with the existing businesses, because sometimes in order to do change, you know, sometimes, you know, other changes have to happen that are maybe not as, you know, advantageous or nice, but definitely I like the fact that you guys are willing to work with the small businesses to maybe, you know, see if they're able to accommodate some of the things that people want. So I think that was really great. So thank you for giving me my time to share.
Thank you very much, Laquisha. Next, Ms. Barbara Crystal.
Yeah, I guess I'm one of these old people on this thing, in this meeting here, because I remember back in the day when there were a lot of businesses there. And I see Superintendent Eddy Crispin on here, who also I know grew up in Mattapan. Back in the day, we did have a variety of businesses, but when the things started to change, the owners of the buildings rented out the space, but they didn't beautify it, in other words, and they didn't upgrade it. So whoever rented the space had to do all that and also try to start their own business. But basically what I'm saying is a lot of those businesses in the square don't own the building, and that's what they need to do. They need to actually own the space. We, at one time, before the MBTA sold the property where the parking lot was, we had asked for upgrades. We had asked for artist lofts. We actually, one time we asked for a theater. We even asked for a hotel so that we would have a place for a nice restaurant and a function hall. But it seems like every time we asked for anything, it was not provided. So I'm just saying to Ben and Nicole, you've got your work. Yeah, go ahead. You all have your work cut out for you, because this is we've been over this, I want to say 15 years now that we've asked for these various things. So if you can get those changes made, and some of these merchants can own the buildings that they're actually in, I think that's going to make some changes, because we did ask for a theater. We asked for upscale restaurants. We asked for a whole lot of stuff. And obviously it never happened. But now that we have the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council with all the neighborhood associations, that's the kind of support that you all are going to need for that. So good luck.
Thank you, Barbara, for the comment. I agree. We definitely got our work cut off. For myself, Ben Lincoln's on here, who is also part of our board, and there's any other board members. I apologize, I don't see the whole screen. But yes, you know, we agree. But you made a good point with the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council, with all of the different organizations that we have. When we create our code of ethics, and it's consistent across the board of what we want in Mattapan Square. So when these folks are coming to each of us, we all preaching or are saying the same thing. It just makes our voices stronger. So, you know, there's a lot of groundwork that we have to do, and kind of starts here, understanding with the vision, on creating those code of ethics, and then, you know, together, like you mentioned, Barbara, now that we have more forces behind, you know, we can be a little bit louder and, you know, won't shut up until we're heard.
I agree. And I also think, you know, it's interesting because I'm also coming in, but you know, I'm also seeing from the city, there's also a change. You know, recently, you know, Chief Sagoon had just introduced a new program that would allow businesses to take out loans to buy the property that they're in. I know it's just in, you know, sort of a pilot stage, you know, but that's one thing that, you know, that's available now as a new tool. The other thing too is I think the city is paying more attention, and you know, it's thanks to work like, you know, people like Kenya Beeman, who's on it as well, who's working at the planning department and yelling in their ear all the time about what, you know, what community wants. So I think, you know, there is some change, and also, you know, you're seeing it now. You're seeing counselors, you know, city councilors at your meetings, and you know, this isn't the first time I happened to pop into one of your, you know, one of the neighborhood meetings and see that. You know, you're also seeing a lot of your state delegations. So Mattapan is being paid attention to more, I would say, at the moment. And this is really a good opportunity to have these conversations and say, these are the things we want. You know, we want Mattapan for us, and we want to build Mattapan and have the amenities that other communities have without, you know, without us being gentrified, without us having to worry about these things. So I think, you know, you're starting to see that now. And you're right, it is good luck. It's going to be a long haul. One of the things that, you know, I've been working with like Fatima on is the zoning. And, you know, one of the things we can do is there's something called 40R, which would allow the community to redistrict to, you know, it would be a zoning overlay, and there's a lot of technical language, but there's a lot of reasons to do this, not just for this reason, but, you know, you would create a council that would create, you know, that would help to narrow down and zone things differently so that we could actually have some of the things you want.
Thank you. Next, David Holmes.
Wholeness. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So the things I'd like to see for Mattapan, the first thing that comes to mind is safety. I think the sidewalks need to be more brightly lit. Another issue that I have that I'm sure that can be addressed at some point is, you know, it takes money to do stuff in Mattapan Square, and I noticed that both the Citizens Bank and the Bank of America ATMs are situated such that your back is to the street. And I think that's a poor arrangement for, you know, somebody could sneak up on you or something. You know, I think there's some safety improvements that need to be made. If you want people to come to Mattapan Square, that's great, restaurants, theaters, and everything, but they also have to be safe. As far as one idea that I had, I don't know if it already exists. If it does, my apologies. Please bring back a good ice cream store in Mattapan Square, please. I missed my Brigham's.
I'll have to invite you over. I make ice cream sometimes.
You deliver?
We got some thumbs up on that one too. So good ice cream store. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gina?
Hi, how are you? My concern is, even though it's not in the square, is Simcoe's. They need a lot of help. People coming up Blue Hill Ave. I've had friends that live outside of Boston. When they come into town and they see Simcoe's, it says, if Simcoe's looks like that, why should I go into the square? They're judging the rest of the square by what Simcoe's looks like. That's one. The other thing is one thing to get restaurants in Mattapan Square, but how will they go about getting liquor licenses? That's always been an issue. The liquor licenses seem to go every place else but within the community.
Agreed.
Yeah, so how would that be addressed?
That's a great question. There are some ways of working this. Right now, it's, I do plan on, this was a conversation that Councilor Arroyo and I had just a short kind of touched on it. But there are some things that we can talk about for that. The city changed, like a lot of cities, where you kind of lease the license from the city, you don't have to own it. So that will actually help. If, you know, one thing we can do, if we can actually talk to the city and say, look, this is what we're trying to do, you know, can you hold off some liquor licenses for us? You know, I've done that in Somerville. You know, when Somerville went through the, what's that called now? Assembly Row. When that was happening, that's literally was a conversation we had with the city, was talking to them and saying, you know, we want businesses, we want restaurants, you know, will need liquor licenses, and they held some. It's the same conversation now that Union Square is going through it in Somerville. You know, the city's already planning on holding some as well. So, you know, so that's some of the things that I think as part of a planning process, you know, we can push on, and that you all will also have to, you know, roar your heads and say, look, you know, we want restaurants, and if we can't get restaurants because, you know, these guys need a liquor license and you're too busy giving them to all these other places.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, so it will be a fight, but I think, you know, you know, it's one that I know the councilor's ready to have. And, you know, and I think City Hall will be willing to listen, especially since they're now spending so much money on a planning process.
Okay,
You know, to invite new businesses. I think that they're open to those conversations.
okay. And how much help can be given to Simcoes? Have you looked at it lately?
We've had this conversation with them.
Yes, we have. We have, and it's a process. You know, we're going to continue to try to work with them on redesigning or not even redesigning, but really bringing their sign back to life. The folks used to always tell me how it used to light up, and you know,
Right.
has some motion in it. So conversations are being had.
Okay.
Relationships are being built to try to get that done as well. So that's on the radar. So we agree. You know, coming in, you know, if that's the first thing you're going to see, it definitely sets a precedent for kind of what else is beyond. You know, Simcoe's.
One of the things for Simcoe's that's different is that Simcoe's its signage is actually might fall under historic because it was done back in the early 1930s.
Yes.
Right.
There could be CPA funds that can be tapped in order
It's true.
to help restore that type of signage. But as we're moving on to 7, I want to get through some more. Thank you so much for your question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yael and then Simone.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you for allowing me to get this comment in. Can you hear me?
You're not really. Your voice is coming in very distinctive, but
Okay.
a little bit muffled.
Can you hear me?
Much better. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Let me try to try to see if I can get this on the speaker. All right. So so I was saying, I just wanted, pretty much what I had to say was just pretty much echoing a little bit of what the things that were already said. But I just wanted to kind of add, like, I understand that we do all want these things in the square. What's important to me is not only should we get these things in the square, but ideally it'd be great if we can get these businesses in the square and have people that look like us represent those businesses in the square. I feel like Mattapan is really a great, unique place and space in Boston. The highest minority home ownership is in Mattapan. And I think that's something that we should all be proud of as the people who represent Mattapan. And I would love to see those unique new businesses also have that same type of backing with Black businesses and things of that nature being represented well in Mattapan, because those are the people who make up Mattapan. I don't feel as though, so I feel like those businesses are very unique and key. But every time there's a Black face associated with a neighborhood, there's always a stigmatism to it. And I would love if we can start to build a more affluent looking neighborhood with minority representation. So
Perfect. Thank you. I agree 100%. Thank you. Yep. We have one question in there in the chat as well, but we can get to that in a moment. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for saying. Simone?
Thank you. I echo, what a lot of the residents in Mattapan has been saying, about what it could look like and what it looks like now. But here's, I think, a very low hanging fruit that's happening as it concerns safety. When I walk from Regis Road down to Mattapan Square, if I am not careful, I'll pitch over and fall. The sidewalks are so uneven that it makes it very dangerous to walk. And I can't imagine how that impacts the elderly or anyone else. Because for me, I have literally fell down there before. So we really need to do something about that. And I live near Simcoe's. I am right there with everyone else. And I know based on past experience, especially with my church in Hyde Park, that this signage, if it's considered historic, you have to be very careful. So reaching out to Thaddean would be a good way to start to see how we can restore that. But please, the sidewalks, we need to do something right away about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very true. Just one thing about we're looking at sidewalks, talking about streetscape sidewalks, Blue Hill Avenue in general, as well as other streets. I encourage everyone to participate in the community conversations about that. There is another meeting coming up on November 15th, which is another community conversation around Blue Hill Avenue. And remember, Blue Hill Avenue also for us starts in Mattapan Square. So if you want to get that kind of focus, we do need to speak up in those meetings, especially. Thank you.
And the other thing too, to ride what Fatima is saying, so I've been to one of these meetings, and one thing the planners keep saying is, tell us what you want. Like, be specific about what you want, because a lot of people are saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, but they're not saying, I want better, I want better sidewalks, I want, better crosswalks, I want ADA compliance when, crossing the street, whatever it is. And so be very specific about these things, because the city the city, at least the planners that I'm hearing from, they feel like they want to make a change and they want to do something. And this is the time to have your voice heard about these things. So speak up and be, don't just say, I don't want this, say, but I do want that.
Okay. And Lisette was asking, I know, Ben, if you could just elaborate a little bit more. I know you and Fatima had this conversation around the zoning issues, the zoning that we just talked about. He was just asking to elaborate a little bit more on that, if we can.
I'll start with it. What that refers to is, so we all know that there is the draft plan Mattapan, which by way, the comment period has been extended to December 4th. And I encourage residents to go through it and to make comments about it. One of the things that when you go through the plan is that it's not very specific to say, this is for Mattapan Square, this is, et cetera. Whenever you're talking about different areas, there are residential areas, there are what are called community commercial areas, there is light industrial in the city, there is very specific sort of code, what are called code classifications. And when you overlay those code classifications onto an area, looking at retail as well as what could be potential housing, you have something together, because Mattapan Square is right next to public transportation. You have something which opens up a different type of zoning, which is called 40R. 40R, we already have different types of zoning overlays. Mattapan Square is a gateway area, as well as the area which we call, Morton and Blue Hill. That's another definition of a gateway area. So what you're trying to do is balance the different types of needs and requirements, so that you're not going to go and overrun any one thing. We have a lot of natural resources that we should protect and want to make sure that we improve upon, such as the Neponset River, which goes, runs by the entirety of the square. I don't know if everyone also understands that what is defined as Mattapan Square Main Streets actually extends as part of River Street and crosses over onto part of Cummins Highway.
Yes.
So that you do have to understand that also comes into the purview of what is considered to be Mattapan Square Main Streets
Mhm.
description. For example,
Yeah,
so
and,
that includes Burger King right on that side. That's what we're
Yes.
talking about. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dave, want to expand?
no, I was gonna say that that's what 40R would allow us to do, would be to be much more specific in zoning. I mean, because right now the problem is that, everything's zoned pretty generic. It's, retail, or it's, which then means it could be anything, it could be a restaurant, it could be a clothing store, it could be this, it could be that. And you can narrow zoning down, so you can create areas that are like, food service. So this is an area where, we're going to have restaurants, and this, so it's more specific, not just retail. And, and there are, and that's how you get what you want, is you actually push for, for narrower zoning on things. And then you make people go through the process, the community process, if they want to change that zoning. When you make it broad, they can do whatever they want, and you really have no control over it.
Mhm.
We are approaching 7:09, so I'll give David Holness, you have 30 seconds, and Chair Peterson, you have 30 seconds. David, you want to start?
Okay, 30 seconds. At
Okay.
least with respect to Simcoe's, what I would like to see is to see the parking changed back to angle parking. It would solve so many traffic problems and accidents. With the pandemic, they've introduced ride shared food delivery, and those people are competing with the people who are also waiting to pick up their own food. So please give Simcoe's a special pass or something so they can go back to angle parking and stop holding up all the traffic. That's it.
Okay. Make sure you put that inside of the survey if you would
Yes,
like
please.
them to do it. Sherry? Sure. You can come off mute.
Hi. Okay, I hope this hasn't been discussed already, but I got a text the other day saying that tomorrow, which would have been last week one day, Boston city councilors are going to split Mattapan. What's the
No,
split
that
about?
was ma'am, that was a spam text.
Oh my God!
That was spam. So don't worry about it. That passed. But that won't have anything pertaining to Mattapan Square. I can assure you about that. It's not. It's something.
I was hoping
unfortunately-
that was the case, and I asked
It-
a friend
it
of
is.
mine who's involved in stuff, and he wasn't sure. But while I have you, real quickly, and Barbara can attest to this, we used to have a movie theater there like 40
Yes, we
some
did.
years ago, and it was nice. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yep, it had stars in the ceiling.
Oh, nice.
We did. We
Mm.
did.
Actually, the stars are still in the ceiling.
That's good to know. Good to know. All right. So I thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Nicole, for their presentation. I do encourage everyone to please fill out the survey. This is the first part. The next part, my understanding, is to actually do real visiting sessions with Ben. You can correct me that they will be actually done by people who are in the visiting business. Is that correct?
Yes, we're in the process of trying to find people, but yeah, we're gonna try to convene some visioning sessions to more narrow down what people want to see in the square. And and the other thing is I think it's a great on both ends, because we'll share all the data, obviously. But what we'll do is, I know when developers come to us, it will also create a list, and we'll be able to say, this is what people are looking for. And, and get promises from them for support. And our offices are 524A River Street, Mattapan Square, which is just sort of above for Tay.
Yep. Suite 800, exactly.
Across
Suite
from the
800.
church, yes.
Yep.
So did you say 524A?
Yes,
River Street? Suite 800?
800.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
But I know,
Chat.
thank you. And it was another question, just quickly up. It was actually just to you, Fatima, about to comment on how Greater Mattapan Zoning Committee will be involved with these changes.
Oh, the way that it's the idea is to have the GMNC more involved in the specifics about Mattapan Square versus the parts of Mattapan. Because if you look at the most squares if you look at Rosendale or Ashmont, Main Streets, etc., that had very specific types of approach that was given in order for it to get a profile. And that's really what you're talking about here, is to develop Mattapan Square to have its own unique profile. So that when you go from Massport, you know, you get on the wall, you won't have to, we won't be missing anymore. That's the goal. So if that answers the question. Oh, someone had one question. What are the current hours of operation of the Main Streets office?
We're working on office hours, but generally I'm in the office from 9 to 5. However, it doesn't actually mean I'm in the office. I could, like for instance, today I spent a couple hours walking up and down, meeting with businesses and that type of thing. Easiest to just email me if you want an appointment, you know, to come by. However, I'm generally in the office from 9 to 5. And Gisela, I promise you, it's a conversation we're having about the website. Yes, it needs a work over and a severe makeover. Actually, I'm just going to say it just needs to be redone completely. So that's a conversation. I'm hoping in the summer we'll get that done. There's a lot to do. So it's slowly everything's coming together. I promise.
Ben, could you put your contacts in the chat, please?
Yep, sounds good.
I just did. I updated the chat with the office number, Ben's email as well. Yeah, like I said, as Ben said, there's a lot of work to do and we're working. So we appreciate you guys' patience, but definitely more importantly, collaborating and, you know, you guys assisting us as we begin to, you know, rebuild Mattapan Square.
Okay, we really do have to move on. We have another presentation.
Yes.
Kenya, if you have one real quick statement, you got 20 seconds, my dear. Kenya?
That's okay. Go ahead. I'll email Nicole. And
okay.
No worries.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Ben and Nicole, for your presentation, and we look forward to lots of more visioning and open dialogue. Thank you again. Thank you, Lincoln, for being here also.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And Sherry, I saw you on here as well, Sherry. Thank you. Sherry Holmes is another one of our board members. Thank you.
Oh, Sherry's here too? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Sherry. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Is Laquisha Burke?
No worries, Fatima. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Laquisha? Oh, there you
Hey,
are.
Fatima, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I didn't know exactly when I was gonna go on. Okay, so I'm just gonna like I'm gonna make it as quick as possible because I know you guys have a lot on your agenda. But essentially, my name is Laquisha Burke, and I work for Massachusetts Housing Partnership. Some of you guys might know me from my community hat with the West of Washington Coalition as well. But today I'm wearing my, housing hat. So I just wanted to come on and talk to you guys about our current programs that we have. I know that Mattapan has a lot of development going on. There could be a lot of condos and stuff going in, and we want to make sure that, that our people that definitely would live within the community, definitely has an opportunity to be able to buy in the market. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the One Mortgage program. And then we also have a down payment assistance program that just came out called the Mass Dreams, which everybody is excited about because it's giving people up to about $50,000 of assistance. So I'll make this as quick as possible, tell you a couple of the benefits. I'll pull up my screen. and go through this very quickly for you guys. So again, I'm going to talk to you guys about the One Mortgage program for your first home. Again, this is a first-time home buyers program, and that just means that you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years to be considered a first-time home buyer. Anybody in the state of Massachusetts can use our program. We don't operate outside of the state of Massachusetts, so you can't go into New Hampshire or Rhode Island. But essentially, you can use the One Mortgage program. We also have another component of our program called the One Plus Boston program, which offers you an interest rate discount. So we're going to go into some of the benefits. The One Mortgage is going to give you an interest rate discount. You'll get that anywhere throughout the state. It's a 30-point discount. Let's say today's rate is a 6%. The One Mortgage will come in around a 5.7. The One Plus Boston is another program that we offer, which gives a higher interest rate discount and gives you up to about $50,000 in assistance. They give you a 50-point discount or a 100-point discount, and we're hoping to be able to change that in the future. So again, you get an interest rate discount with our program. We also have a very low down payment assistance, a down payment system, which works like, as you can see, a condo, a single or a two family, which is a 3% down, where 1.5% of that has to be your own funds. The other 1.5% will come from a down payment assistance program, such as the Mass Dreams program, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. And also, if you wanted to buy a 3-family, it's a 5% down, where 3% has to be your own funds. The other 2% can come from a down payment assistance program. Again, like the Mass Dreams program, a gift from a family member or such. So this is another great benefit of our program. Another great benefit of our program, if I know we have a lot of homeowners, Mattapan is the #1 area for homeowners, Black homeowners in the city. So congratulations. So you guys know all about private mortgage insurance and mortgage insurance. And you know that that can actually cost you a couple extra $100 on top of your mortgage every single month. If you was able to get your mortgage with this back in the day, then you understand how this actually works. But essentially, it's there as a protection for the lender. And essentially is an extra fee that's being charged. But with the One Mortgage, you'll never have to pay private mortgage insurance, or sometimes they just call it mortgage insurance. Another great benefit of our program is that if you qualify under a certain income, we can qualify you for some subsidy funding, which is extra funding that comes from MHP that helps to lower your payments within the first 7 years of your home ownership process. It is a 0% interest loan that does have to be repaid back upon selling or refinancing. But if you couldn't do that, there's options for that. And then each borrower can receive up to about $12,000 in assistance. And the great thing about this is that it helps to increase your purchasing power. So essentially, you know, with a regular conventional loan, you might have only afforded a home for like $400,000. Now, because you're getting subsidy funding, you're getting all of these other benefits that are associated with our program. You might actually qualify for a house that, you know, is like $450,000 or $475,000 or something. So kind of helps. We do have income guidelines. That means that you just need to be under those income guidelines. So for the city of Boston, if there's 2 people in a household, they couldn't make more than $112,000. If they made under this, they would qualify, and they made over this, they would not qualify. There are no exceptions to the rule in regards to the income. If they couldn't qualify for our program under our income guidelines, we just recommend that they use like mass housing product. They can also access the Mass Dreams money with mass housing products as well. And they just deal with people that are a higher income. Okay, we do have an asset test. I'm gonna send Fatima this presentation so you guys can just go through it. But that just means that you can't have more than $75,000 in assets, and we'll take a look at your savings and checkings, your stocks, your bonds, any gifted money that you're getting, gifts of equity, investments, any land that you may own, but we don't count most retirement accounts, but we count Roth IRA accounts. Okay, so another good benefit. We went over first-time homebuyer status. In order to qualify for our program, you need to meet our credit score minimums. So for condos and singles, it's a 640, and for 2s and 3s, it's a 660. So as long as you meet our minimum credit scores, then you can qualify for our program. It doesn't matter if you have a higher credit score, because you're not going to be privy to any extra benefits because you have a higher credit score. As long as you meet our minimums, then you can qualify for all the benefits that are associated with our program, meaning that interest rate discount, not having a PMI and a low down payment. And another great benefit that we're having with our program, which has been a success, is the Mass Dreams program, which everybody's been hearing about. It gives people up to about $50,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance, which is a big help. So, you know, if you're only putting down 3%, 1.5% would be yours. The other 1.5% could come from this program, the Mass Dreams program. You do have to use this program, couple it with either the One Mortgage program or another program being offered through Mass Housing. This is a grant and it's not taxable. You don't have to count it on your income tax, which is really great. You do have to live within certain communities in order to qualify. You can go to the website here, which is listed here, to fill out the pre-eligibility questionnaire. You'll take that letter to one of our qualified lenders, and they will actually add in this Mass Dreams money, which are the rest of your financial, assistance that you'll be getting with the application. Another benefit of our program is that we offer homeowners assistance. So I know that there's a lot of homeowners in Mattapan. So if anybody has fallen behind during COVID, we're offering up to about $50,000 in assistance. If somebody is more than that behind, still apply anyway, because you can get assistance from us and they may offer you some other assistance in the meantime as well. So again, if you've fallen behind, definitely reach out. And this is a resource for homeowners. And that is it, Fatima. I try to go through it as quickly as possible because I know your time is short. So hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time. I see Simone on here. So Simone will probably ditto a lot of the stuff that I said and reiterate a lot of the things that I said tonight.
Definitely.
Simone's a big partner of ours at Maha. She's running the ship over there. So we really appreciate her and her support. We're definitely pushing out this One Mortgage and One Plus Faucet program. Without these programs, there's a lot of people that wouldn't be able to afford to be able to buy something in the city, even if it is an affordable unit. But at least they get to stay in the city and then they get an affordable mortgage to boot. So.
No, thank you. Could you put in the chat and reiterate the name of the program to help individuals in case they
I'll put all of my contact information and links in the chat, and you guys can go to our website and check it out. And I'll also share the presentation with you, Fatima, so you can share it with the groups later on tonight. I'll even put it in the chat if I can, and people can dig it out of there.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, because I know that people are still there still are plenty of people who could benefit from so many of the different programs that you listed. Simone, you had your hand raised?
Yes, I know Laquisha had limited time to talk about the Mass Dreams program tonight. And so if you need additional information in a more detailed format, Maha is having an info session on November 10th at 6:30, I think, in the evening. You can come and get some really good information about this Mass Dreams program to help you with down payment and closing costs in this very expensive market.
And just a quick add-on, too for Simone with that too. This program with the Mass Dreams, the city is also offering money, extra funding as well, that they're using to couple up with this money as well. So there's a lot of money out there if people really want to apply. All you have to do is ask, go to your first time homebuyers class, and it's just about filling out the paperwork, literally.
One thing I don't know if either you or Simone could address, I think it would be beneficial for people to understand that even if you are right now using financial assistance, so you're a Section 8 tenant, but you want to save to purchase your own home, that there is a way for that the city and or state, I believe, can help you reach those goals. If you want to talk a little bit about that, I think it'd be very beneficial for people to hear.
Yeah, I don't know if Simone want to just chime in, but I'll let Simone go first and then I'll chime in my piece after.
Thank you, Laquisha. Section 8 homeownership is a program that is facilitated through the city and the state. I think it's a federal program. So the best way to go through this process is to talk with your program officer that is facilitating your Section 8 vouchers. If you think that you're truly ready, you start there. If you're not getting anywhere, you take a first-time home buyer class, have a one-on-one discussion with your first-time home buyer advisor, and we can help you. We, meaning Maha, I don't know about anyone else, can help you to navigate that. We know lenders that work within that space to help you to go through the Section 8 homeownership process And that does not eliminate you from utilizing these additional resources that are out there. So again, there's a lot of money out here. It's not going to last a long time. So if you need to purchase your home, you should jump on it as soon as possible. And Laquisha, you can get into more details if you have it.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into any more details. Just like Ms. Simone said, that you need to contact your housing authority and find out if they actually participate in that side of the program. They may not participate in that particular side. They might say we only have the family self-sufficiency program, or they may only offer like some type of matching program. But if you're already if you have a voucher and you're already paying like $2,500 or $2,200 or something like that, then you might be, ready for home ownership. You know what I mean? It might be ready to give up that voucher to somebody that actually may be needing that at this point in time. Like, you might have outgrown that space. And unfortunate, like sometimes they do have to give us the voucher in order to go into home ownership. But that's just probably for the most, the most qualified people. But I do know that I just had a meeting with BHA, and I know that they are, looking into this home ownership using the voucher piece very seriously. And they are assigning somebody that's going to be facilitating this. So I'm hoping, and BHA is one of the biggest housing authorities, in the city, as you know. So being able to rotate some of those vouchers to people that need them to get people off of the Section 8 is going to be key, because at the end of the day, we want people to grow, right? The goal is not to just stay, on the public assistance forever and ever and ever. If you did need it, then that's totally fine. But our goal is to make sure that, you're able to build something for yourself. And if you have this voucher and you're able to do that, and they're enabling you to do that, then I think you should, definitely put your hat in the ring for that.
Someone within, Ally, you want to go, and then Corinne?
Thanks, Fatima. Hey, Laquisha. Hope you're doing well.
Hey,
been
how
a
you
while.
doing? I know, girl. I love the glasses.
Thank you. Same. So this is a really great presentation. Thank you for that. And I'm really excited about the Mass Dreams program. The question that I have for you and Simone is there any flexibility around I know there's not any flexibility around the income bracket, which is, kind of sad, because like if you're making like 50 cents over, that it's like, it's such a finite thing, right? But there's not really a lot of room around that because of, different types of laws and policies. I get that. What I'm curious about is if there's any flexibility around the assets, because if the assets total to 75,000, and while I'm not even certain that most low-income families would even have assets that high, I mean, we all know about the Federal Reserve report that came out back in 2015 that found that on average, African-American families in Greater Boston only had a net worth of $8, which is still like mind-blowing. But if it just so happens, that folks have assets that are a little higher than 75,000, much of these assets are fixed things. They don't necessarily appreciate or depreciate when we talk about assets, right? So for those who may not be familiar, different things that you own may be worth of different types of value. So what can end up happening is you could end up losing out on an opportunity to, purchase a home if your assets just happen to be like 78,000, but you fall within the income bracket. So is there any flexibility there, or is there any movement towards making that policy more flexible?
So I'll start first. Unfortunately, for most lenders, they're going to follow the guidelines to the T. But there are additional programs out there, like the one Laquisha just mentioned. The City of Boston also have up to a $50,000 down payment and closing cost assistance right now, and they will not, at this time, as far as I know, be doing any asset test. So there's that. One mortgage program was created by Maha years and years ago to help really low income individuals get into the housing market. So if we set it at $75,000 and you breach that, it means you really don't need the help as much as some other individuals that may need it. It's not that you don't need it, it's just that you may not need it as much as others. And then when we think about asset, it is liquid asset, easily dissolvable. And so if we're taking away your 401k, except if it's a Roth IRA or your IRAs, then it kind of like really leave a lot of room for you to not really hit that mark. But this is great, and there are certain people that have been excluded because of the asset test. Unfortunately, it's there to really help those that needs it the most.
Yeah, thank you for that, Simone. And I totally agree in regards to that. But I also feel like, like Simone said, our program is a very niche kind of program, you know what I mean? Almost
Yeah.
like a boutique program, right? So you have to be really fancy and special really to kind of get into our program, right? So we're kind of like a little boutique. And, again, we want to help the people who actually need it the most. But like Simone said, there's other programs being offered from the city, and for if you're over that 100% area median income, you go over to mass housing. They have a ton of different products over there. I don't believe they have an asset test over there, and and there's other ways that you can work around it, but you can still get into homeownership.
Thank you for that. Like I said, I think overall it's a really great opportunity. The income and asset brackets do make it hard for people who are just slightly above that rate who still can't afford. And I think we have a lot of cases like that here in Boston and in the region, where there are a lot of folks who, I'll speak for myself, right? Like I can't afford a home in this city. Now I'm looking at other places and I don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to stay in the community. But I wouldn't fall within, that for the simple fact that I share assets with my family. So on paper, it looks like I have a lot when that's not really true. So it's just, there are a lot of people who kind of go through experience those kind of nuances. So I'm just trying to figure out if there's any room for us too, because, we need some dough.
I agree, and I really think that you shouldn't write off mass housing products, and they do go up to higher income levels. They are 135% AMI, so they don't take the entire household income into consideration, just the people that are actually purchasing. So for those that really don't qualify for one, mass housing usually is the next.
Water off. Can you fix that?
Thank you both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Not sure who's Corinne, if you want to go next, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I didn't have a question, but I did have a comment, and I wanted to just give you some information. There are 2 condos that are being sold in the Mission Hill area. Both of the realtors, it's a board that I sit on, and we bought a triple decker, selling 2 units. As the remaining the tenant that's there now is going to stay. I know it doesn't seem affordable, but for the Mission Hill area, in the 400s is affordable. Condos on that same street are one sold for almost $800,000-900,000. So they're 2 affordable units. And I can leave the realtor, both realtors are Black. And I'd love to see some folks of color that after hearing about these products that were mentioned, when you think about the force, I think if you can get 50,000, or I don't know, Laquisha, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
You can also call me Q. You can always call me Q as well. That's fine.
Okay, Q. I don't know if you can get more, but that would bring it down to the 3s, right? They're 3-bedroom units, 1 bedroom, one or 1.5 bath. I don't know, but if anybody's interested, I can put the realtor's number in the chat. I know folks might want to stay in Mattapan, but this is right in Mission Hill, right up on the hill, close to the T.
Corinne, are you trying to sell our people?
I know I feel bad, but I feel bad.
You're desperate. You're desperate. You're desperate. You're trying to like move that people out. What's up with that?
I know. I don't, but I want to see some Black.
I mean, Corinne, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to go to another pool of Black people. These Black people are cowards. They're staying. Don't do a Black people grab. That's not good.
I love you, Fatima.
I love you
But
too.
yeah, someone may, or you might want to tell someone else that doesn't want to leave Mattapan, that might want to
Well-
get the unit.
Well, Corinne, I will say if we will consider. We will consider.
So I will put if it's okay with you, Fatima, I will put
Yes,
the
yes,
realtor.
ma'am, of course. We're a
number
democracy. We're a democracy. We believe people should be able to purchase wherever they can, and at least if they can stay in the city of Boston, they'll be willing. So,
Yeah. And I mean, these,
You know.
again, you're gonna build the, they're gonna be worth, it's a way, I see it in how we can build some real generational wealth for Black folks in the city. It's only 2 units, but would love to see it. I can put Monica's information there. If you want to mention my name, feel free to do that as well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Laquisha, do you have any other?
No, that was the end of my presentation. Like I said, people feel free to reach out. I put all my contact information in the chat. They can reach out to me directly or send something to the main mailbox. But again, Simone is on here. She's a great resource. She's a partner of ours. She's very proficient in mass housing and MHP products. So I definitely think, you guys may already be homeowners, but we're looking at the next generation, right? And how we can push them forward and how we can get them involved. And, if you're 21 and you're working some construction job, you might be making good enough money to buy yourself a condo at 21. You know what I mean? And it's our job to make sure that we're pushing that dream and letting them know that that's possible and not that they just need to go out and like rent, right? You know what I mean? But, I appreciate being here, being able to speak to you guys about the One Mortgage. It's my job. It's the one thing that I love to do. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful presentation and for some really important information. And who's off?
98.
Oh, okay. Nicole, did you want to say something? You had your hand raised. That's what I was asking.
She was just going to actually reach out directly, but I'll go ahead and answer if we have a little bit, if we have some time here. I'm just curious. So if you guys would know, if you're an heir of an estate, and let's say but you're only an heir to 1/3 of the estate, and you're looking to purchase the other 2/3 from the existing heirs, and it's your first home purchase, are you considered a first-time home buyer?
So what I do know is that if you're receiving, as long as you're not receiving any kind of benefits from that property, you're not, financially bound in any kind of way, like, because people have stuff in trust, right? That doesn't make them a homeowner just because their name is on like a trust. But if it's like actually on the deed to the house, then I think that could be problematic if you're trying to become a first-time home buyer. But I don't know if Simone might have run into any unique situations, but I definitely feel like, if you have any, really weird situations going on, very unique, you should email us, let us know. I can run things back by my management. We could talk it through because sometimes we may have to make exceptions for certain things, depending on what that situation may look like. So, and everybody's situation is a little bit different.
That's what I was going to say, Laquisha, that, these one-off questions, especially that's so specific and unique, would be best dealt with by someone at MHP to kind of help you navigate through that process.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Laquisha and Simone, for both of you giving some really valuable information to the community. We very much appreciate all your work that you do. And continue to do. Simone, you said there was an event on November 10th. Is that correct? At 6:30?
Yes.
Is that information on your website?
I actually have it here. I got to figure a way out how to get it into the chat. So give me a moment and I will post it.
Okay. Okay, and then then we can post it on the site for people to be able to pick it up. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay. The next part, we're going to move on quickly, moving on to a couple of committee reports. Matthew, I'm not sure if he was able to.
I am still working on double duty here with Mr. MJ, who you might hear in the background, but I'm gonna stay off camera as he is currently in the back. But no, I'm not talking to Mama right now. Different call. Okay, so thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate it. I did, Fatima, as you know, we've been working today on writing a letter to our elected officials from the Public Services Committee. And Fatima, I think we should have time. This will only take a couple minutes if I read it aloud here.
Sure, that would be great.
Great. So,
indulge, please. Thank you, Matthew.
I don't. What'd you say?
Do you want me to read it, or
no? I got it. I got it.
Okay, ad lib. You have MJ ad lib. Excellent.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll see. Yeah. No, so I don't think that the topic really needs any introduction. I think we're all aware of the kind of frighteningly elevated levels of violence that we've been seeing lately across the city, but of course specifically in Greater Mattapan. And as a result of that, the neighborhood council intends to send the following letter to our mayor and District 4 and 5 city councilors, as well as the at-large city councilors. And it reads, "Dear elected officials, as we continue to see the level of gun violence and physical assaults grow in parts of Mattapan and Dorchester, the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council is requesting that the mayor's office look at the results of another city's recent efforts that have been effective, the city of Chicago. Beginning in May of 2022, the Chicago's Community Safety Coordination Center, in partnership with community organizations, formed high-risk intervention teams in an effort to conduct weekly violence reviews and identify the tasks necessary to address people and place-based issues driving violence. These teams represent a holistic and coordinated effort between the city and the community partners to identify what is driving violence in each community area, to identify what solutions we can quickly use to combat violence. The teams are comprised of the following members from across the city, representing faith-based, street outreach, community-based, mayor's office, and public school organizations and services. The GMC appreciates the heartfelt responses to the violence. We all agree that these are never enough. It is very easy to point fingers and make statements that we need this programming or that programming. A community becomes proactive when it can use issue-based facts to respond to whatever is driving the violence. Our council looks forward to working with the types of groups mentioned above to become part of the solution. Signed, the Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council." So if folks have comments, they can feel free to reach out to Fatima or myself. We expect that this letter, with incorporating those comments, will be emailed out in the next day or two. So I appreciate the time to read that aloud. Obviously, this is an important issue. As far as the remainder of the Public Services Committee goes, we will not be meeting tomorrow. As those on my mailing list know, I mentioned, perhaps the greatest public service of all tomorrow is voting day. So please, if for no other reason than out of deference to your friendly local Public Services Committee, get out there and vote. It is so important. We have a lot of important close races and ballot questions, as some of our speakers alluded to earlier this evening. We do intend to meet again in December. If you have any meeting topic ideas, please email them to me and I will put my email in the chat. Did I cover it all, Fatima?
You got it, Matt.
All right, thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks, MJ, for giving us time.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Thank you. The next one is for the zoning committee. So last month we had a presentation done by, we have one presentation that is very large, and it's called Olmsted Village. It's a proposal that's been years in the making. It is still going through a process, and actually there is still a comment period that is currently open until November 17th of this month. It's 3 different housing communities. One is a 6-story building containing about 127 affordable senior housing apartments with a community center and childcare center on the ground floor called the Burke House. There's another, which is a 1 4-story building containing approximately 60 affordable intergenerational apartments, which that means that elderly, along with those who are aging or have aged out of the foster care system. There is also now 1 4-story building containing approximately 42 mixed income family homeownership apartments. And there are 2 3-story buildings containing approximately 8 market rate family homeownership apartments, 1 3-story building containing approximately 10 family mixed income homeownership apartments, and 1 4-story building containing approximately 18 family mixed income homeownership apartments. And those are facing Harvard Street in Mattapan. The presentation can be found on our website. The documentation for those who wish to continue to look and to make comments. But the GMNC, I'd like to, how many board members do I have currently on? Matthew's still here, David's here. David Halbert, are you here?
Yep.
Okay. Pam Jones, you here?
I'm here.
Azan, are you still here? Or did he have to jump? Chad, you're still here?
Yep, here.
Oh, here. Wesley? I did see Wesley's name.
That's it. We got a quorum.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got MJ here too. I'd like to take a vote, please, to make a motion to accept the presentation that Olmsted Village presented, along with any provisos to continue the conversation to ensure community participation in the process. The project team has been very open and continues to seek participation overall. So can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Thank you. Being said, the motion carries. If there is, I believe, Katie McGonigal from Two Left Communities. Are you still here? There she is.
I'm still here.
Okay. Just so you know, what's going to happen next is that we will send a letter to the BPDA and let them know what our board has recommended. Thank you for your continued conversations.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it and look
You're
forward to
welcome.
working with you.
Fatima, can I get a copy of that letter too?
Yes, sir. Oh, I didn't even see you get on there.
Thank you.
Our phones.
Appreciate it.
Yes, Kenya, that goes without saying. Oh, everyone's asking for it. Yes, 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 yes. I will just say yes to all of that. Next, we're getting to the community updates. Is Superintendent Eddy Crispin on still? Oh, there he is. Sir, if you would like to, I'm not sure if you're staying on camera or off camera.
Okay, hello?
Hi, oh, there you are.
Yes, I was stopped and waiting. I was just about to pull off.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're
yeah,
driving.
So
okay.
Yes. No, I'm stopped now. I left another meeting. I was sitting in the parking lot waiting. So
thank you for your patience.
No problem at all. So my understanding is that there were some questions related to the incident that happened last night and overall safety in the Mattapan community. So I don't know if you wanted me to just present what we've been doing collaboratively with other city agencies as a police department, or did you want me to just take some questions?
What I think that, considering the time, what I think would be nice is one of the things that's been very troubling for residents is not really hearing if there is a response from elected officials, as well as, we see what's on the media, and it can be very disjointed the way it's received. I believe anyone can see that, it is very troubling to everyone, regardless if you're an elected official or not, because of the level of violence that it just seems to, continue in all age groups, regardless of if somebody is merely a bystander or not. A loss of life is a loss of life. But the distressing thing comes when in the midst of, all that we see going on with us from, a national level going on down to the city level, I think for a lot of people, at least what I'm hearing, is seeing that or hearing that they don't see or understand what is the direction, I guess, we're going in as a city and as a community. We hear people say that they are speaking on behalf of our community, but as a neighborhood council, I've yet to hear anyone directly outreach to us to say, where do residents, how would they like to be heard? How would they like to see things proceed? What do they need? It really, there's somewhat of a void in many respects. And I'm sure there are other parts of the city that people feel the same way. But I am hearing, and it's not particularly one age group or one particular section of Mattapan, not religion, not gender, nothing like that. It's across the board. You hear it and you see it. And it's just very distressing. I do know that like on our B3, there's been a lot of work by officers and by the captain to outreach and to address specific issues that we've seen an uptick in, so like prostitution. But you can see it. And if you could address, the last night's violence just hit a lot of people very hard. It was more than a jolt. So if you can address some of that and what you believe, what the BPD, along with other departments, which direction are we going, I guess?
So, yes, thank you for those questions, Fatima. So just as a whole, one of the things that we've started to have conversations about, when I say we, not just the police department, but along with a number of the city agencies, Public Health Commission, BPS, I've always said and continue to say that public safety is a participatory process. So to the extent that we can get more people involved in these conversations, I think we'll be in a better place. So I think for anybody who's been in the city, who's been in public safety for a long time, I think a lot of the violence we've seen happen over the last few months, the last few weeks, if you will, has caused a lot of concern. I think when you look at a lot of these family members, these individuals, these are second, third generation people who will be becoming involved in the criminal justice system. So for a long time, we've invested a ton of money into, especially the young kids, right? Young people. But we've not invested enough in families in terms of trying to stem the cycle of violence. So we started to have a lot of those conversations. We're talking about public safety, both not only from a criminal justice perspective, but as a public health issue, as in terms of family issue. So I think we're trying to get it on all ends. And I think for one of the things that we did really well in the 80s and 90s, despite some of the shortcomings that process had, is that we all sat down at the table. We had conversations about how to address a lot of the violence from different perspectives. So I think we're starting to do that now. And then the other piece is I know it's concerning. One violent incident like the ones we've had over the last few weeks is too many. I think as overall, crime is still down, but the fact still remains, I think we have to find innovative ways of trying to get to the root of these issues. So I think we've been in conversation. I think, again, you said that you're not hearing at a community level what's happening. So I will, one of my jobs is to really do outreach to the community and have the community participate more in the conversations we're having around safety issues. So I think the other piece, one of the things as a police department we've started to do over the last few years is really try to police in a community conscious manner. I think for years there were things that we do that certain members of the community didn't necessarily agree with. So we're trying to figure out how to address these things by bringing in people from the community and asking them how they think we should address some of their concerns.
Thank you for about. I mean, Greater Mattapan and Mattapan specifically is covered by multiple police precincts. So you have B3, you have E18, which actually covers part of Cummins Highway. You have, going further up as you go toward Lower Dorchester, you have, what is that? Is that C11?
Yes.
C11. So I'm not sure that everyone realizes that it's not only B3, and there is, and we've heard over a number of time that we have in B3 in particular, we have a very low number of officers who are available to respond. I think we only have a B3, maybe 13 officers.
So we definitely have more than that. There's a new class that just graduated on Friday. 14 of those officers have been assigned to B3. So those officers are there now. They're going through their orientation process. So they're riding with a senior officer who's teaching them the ropes. They'll have to ride with those officers for another 30 days, 30 shifts, I should say, that they have to work. And hopefully people will see, they'll see the presence a lot more, the fact that we've had these 14 officers. But I think, again, I've always said this, and I don't want to dismiss the part that police officers play in safety, but police alone cannot solve the problem. I think it's important that we get community members involved. And one of my roles is really, I oversee District 2, 3, 4, 11, and 8, not 18, and C6. So all the busy districts and 13 is really how to have conversations around safety that don't just involve police. My background is I started off as a social worker. I've been a probation officer. I've worked in DYS. So I've seen all the different iterations of safety and how they get to where they are when people land in our laps. So it's really about having a collaborative effort and trying to make people feel more safe in their communities.
That is going to go. And, there is no endpoint, I think is really important to underscore, that we don't see officers that are working in the different area precincts as being separate and apart from our community. But in order to understand all the changes that are going on right now within Greater Mattapan in different parts of the city, if we're really to go and complement the different professional, because being a police officer is a profession, right? Besides a calling, it is a profession. And in order to integrate it into everything from zoning to schools to anything else, that we're all responsible and accountable to each other. But we're only going to get that way if we actually start having regular, issue-driven responses, and that we're communicating, because we've been here before. I lived here in the 80s and the 90s, and I remember, when they called us murder pain. We're not there, thankfully. That was a very trying time to be young, that going on around you. We definitely have, lots of other obstacles that we're moving forward through, like in many other cities. And I don't want people to despair at all. We can do the work, but we have to understand that this is work. And we want the city to acknowledge that, you know, we need to hear from them constantly, not only when there's a fire. We want to hear from you all the time. All the time. And we welcome you into all spaces that we have. So it's very good hearing from you. And we look forward to seeing you in our public services meetings, as well as many other meetings that we have.
Well, you'll definitely be seeing me around. I've been in Mattapan Square a couple of times over the last few weeks. I'm trying to make my way around the city. One of the things that this commissioner is committed to is really having officers engagement with the community. So whether that be just by virtue of walking around and talking to people, going to community events, doing community work with young people, going to the Boston Public Schools. I think that's his commitment and everybody, and I'm really going to push that agenda.
Kenny and then Siddiqui. Kenny, if you'd like to go, you can unmute.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. So I was told twice, and I was probably in the last week, that the violence prevention program called SOAR, which also employs street workers for City of Boston, is no longer active, that they're going to, I guess, do away with that specific program, which is under the Boston Public Health Commission. I know that SOAR / street worker program was started under Menino. And so I guess, I don't know if there's anyone on this call, if not the officer, maybe the several elected officials that are on here, could answer on what is the city going to do to replace SOAR? Or what is the city thinking of doing to have some sort of on the ground violence prevention, trauma, assistance situation? Because that was more or less the role of the street workers when we did have gun violence in our community.
Kenya, did you want to go, Superintendent?
No, I think SOAR is not really something that's under the Boston Police Department. We have worked with them in the past. I was at a meeting last week, a safety meeting at the Boston Public Schools. My understanding is that it is supposed to come to an end, but they're trying to create a program which is supposed to mirror some of the work that SOAR did. Maybe you may have more information, but that's my understanding.
So Kenya, yes, some of this is, I would say, political, meaning in that some of it is union negotiated right now. And that's why you're probably not getting a full answer from anyone, because there are folks who are in SOAR now who have union protections, and you can't just in the city just go turn down and stop a program and then potentially build a very similar program. So they are working through those components of this first. There are phone calls being made by many people who are street workers and SOAR people now, because they're saying, well, what are we going to do? I'm just going to ask, because I'm sure the mayor's folks would ask, be patient. We need another couple of weeks. They are rolling this out. And yes, there's just some legal reasons for why you don't have a complete answer now. They need just a couple more weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kenny, for the question. Siddiqui?
Yes.
Unmute?
Yes, I'm unmuted. I'm the director of the Black Community Information Center, and one of the components of the Information Center, which is all volunteers, the Nubian Square Coalition, and I won't get all that, but what it is in the past, we've, in terms of the Black Community Information Center, we've had the Soul Patrol for Peace and Brothers for Peace that would actually walk the streets and interact with these young men, which is a small percentage of the population. Most of our young people are very, very good folks and productive. So anyhow, last week we launched what we call Black Men Defend. And essentially, we held our first meeting, like I said, last week. And it's about how we, as Black men, can get out here and do the type of interaction that's necessary, that would hopefully contribute to the peace in the streets. And so that, we're going to be expanding our base. We're meeting again on the 16th, but I'd be willing to talk to Representative Holmes and Captain Crispin about possibly convening a meeting down there in Mattapan for, as I said before, for Black Men Defend. You know, we're not talking about going out there and being crazy. We're talking about just interacting with our young folks. And also, you know, we've had some brothers say, well, look, we don't want to be walking the streets. We say, well, look, do you have a neighborhood association? No. Well, if you don't, do you know your neighbors? No. Then organize your neighbors, because of the fact that the more folks who are out there who are active and doing something along those lines, the safer our community is going to be. So just want to put that out there. You know, I'm just being very candid that I tell people that the bottom line that gets along, I believe, with what the captain was saying about we got to do more than just for police, that we as Black men have to get out here and do our job in terms of contributing to the overall safety of our community. So, like I said, if Representative Holmes and the captain are receptive, and also all folks who are here, and you know, the one thing we found is that we've had no complaints from women about brothers coming together and doing some work. So anybody who's on here now who wants to contribute, we'll be putting our information out. And if Mattapan wants to convene a Black Men Defense component, we're open to it.
Thank you, Siddiqui. Would you
Can
like
you
to
respond to that or no? I'm sorry.
Yes, reference. Yes, thank you.
So, Brother Siddiqui, great to see you. 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was, when we did the press conference, the mayor and all of us, that's what I said. These folks behind me, all these politicians, are not going to solve this by themselves. We, as a community, need to stand up and solve some of our own community things and issues. So I'm all in. Let's try to figure out when to organize, but I appreciate the effort. I'm a yes.
If I could just, I know there was a question
Yes,
in the
please. Thank you. Let's see. Question. There is a question about, I'm not sure if Ruth Currington wanted to ask this question. A request from the minister group begging for a meeting with police and mayor.
Yes, so we've had a number of meetings with faith organizations from throughout the city. I know there may be maybe one person who consistently talks about not meeting with the Boston Police Department. I've been very open about meeting with every and anybody who's willing to have a conversation around safety. So I know the person that they may be referring to, Kevin Peterson. I've given my card to Kevin Peterson at a meeting last week, and I'm waiting to hear from him. And I know we've been in constant conversation with other faith leaders from across the city.
Thank you for responding, Superintendent. Barbara? You can come up, Ms. Christian.
Yeah, I have a question. I heard today that BCYF was also supposed to be getting rid of, eliminating their street workers. And I think that's a big mistake, because I think the Boston Police Department could use any support, especially with the shortage of police officers that they have. And I mentioned to you and a few other people about bringing back the civic academy, the civilian academy.
Yes.
So that basically the residents community would understand the policies of what's going on and what you all go through every day when you all strap on that uniform.
I've already signed the course for that, Barbara. So
you did?
I've already talked to a number of people. I have an outline for the course. I've already talked about the legal aspects we need to explain, the scenario-based things that we'll need to do. So we're working on it.
It's in the works, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Harry Thompson mentioned in the chat about announcing some of the new officers. And I think what it was is that because there's another Thompson in the on the police force that rounds out the Thompson family as police officers. You know that they've been in the law enforcement for a long time, and one just graduated on Friday. So I'm just glad that besides you and some other folks that are coming from the Mattapan community, you all are stepping up to the plate.
Absolutely.
What's so great there, Barbara, too, is she's a female. That's so awesome. She's Black. Ain't that cool? And Eddie, make sure in that civilian class, Barbara and I in the same class together, make sure you make people go into that room with the light and say, go in that room. That to me is the craziest thing. That's a great experience. You know, the blinking light, like you say, go into the room and you don't know what's behind the wall. That will teach them real quick what you guys go through.
Exactly. Okay.
We'll try, as useful as possible. I think it's important that people understand not only the tactical piece, but I think sometimes people don't understand the legal piece of it, what we can and what we can't do, what we obligated to do, and all those type of things. So I'm sure when we'll get it rolling soon. We're working on the outline. I've already recruited a team to work on it with me.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent, for making the time to speak to the community so quickly. We look forward to working with you and others, elected officials, police, mental health workers, victims, services groups also, and accept others, including the Boston Public Schools. Because as you say, it's going to take all of us moving in the same direction with the same purpose. And that is to make our community whole. Because everyone has value. And we have to, has a humanity. And we have to remember that that is at the core of who we are. Because, you know, we all know Mattapan is a good place to be, but Greater Mattapan just keeps getting better. It's not just a slogan, it actually is who we are at our core. I can see the bewitching hour. We're hitting at 8:15. I wanted to make sure if there were any community updates from anyone, from any neighborhood associations or any electeds, or is Eric James on? He may or may not be on.
I have to say, I'm not Eric. This is Brandy, rep for Oakley.
You are rep for. Yes, you are not Eric. This is true.
Good evening. I just had a really quick update that I want to share with everyone. I'm sure folks have gotten the update on Ryan Playground and how DC are committed to a community process. They have reached out to my office and Senator Collins' office for a list of names and are hoping to convene the first community, I guess I'll call it advisory board until I find out its official title in December. So just FYI that I will be sending names. And if you have a particular interest because you either take your grandchild there or your child there, please don't hesitate to email Chris from my office, and Chris will put all of our contact information into the chat. And then just friendly reminder to vote tomorrow if you haven't already. It's a big election, and make sure your voice is heard. So just thank you again, Fatima, for the time and for the space.
Thank you for your time and your service. Is there anyone else who would like to mention something?
Yeah,
Fatima,
if I may. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kenya.
I'll be really, really quick. I just wanted to share with you guys that we have at the BPDA extended the comments/feedback period for the draft Mattapan plan report to December 4th. And so again, I want to encourage everybody. I will put the link in the chat, but I just want to encourage folks to read it, take some notes, and either send me an email or complete the comment form or feedback form that's on the website that I'll put in the chat. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya, very much for that reporting. Alan?
Hey, everybody. Really quick. I'm not sure if folks are aware, but there is a process that's happening at the state level that everybody should be involved in, especially communities that are historically under-resourced, like Mattapan. The American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA, this is a federal dollars that were helped to stimulate the economy following the the depression, we're not quite at a recession yet, but the financial depression that came out of the pandemic. These are federal funds have been allocated across to every state. Massachusetts is currently trying to figure out how to disperse that money. There is a public comment period until November 19. I'm popping a link in the chat where you can learn more about the process. Now, some of the information in there is kind of hard to sift through. You know, I think it's important for us to speak out if we should organize a meeting to call for folks to explain what all this is for those who are who may not be familiar with the ARPA money. But essentially, the money is being divided across every city and town across the state, and there's a certain percentage that would go to different things, like for roads and bridges repair, for arts and culture, for small businesses and economic development. But it's very important that we have the involvement of neighborhoods like Mattapan involved in this voice, because right now a lot of the voices that are coming to the table are the usual suspects, and we really need people to be here and be involved in this process. The window is closing. It's on November 19. Please make sure you go to here and submit your comment, your feedback beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the information. Yes, Abdullah?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yes, I just want to be really quick with information from Councilor Worrell's office. Councilor Worrell has filed a hearing on gun violence within the community. It's a tentative date, but December 8th. And we're looking for either the Grove Hall Library to host the meeting or the Frederick Pilot. Also, we have launched applications for our District 4 Youth Council. With that being said, we're looking for teens between in 11th to 12th grade to sit on the Youth Council to chair, to take lead and make their voices heard as young people in our communities. And we'll have them create events for youth, for other constituents in the community, as well as propose different resolutions, as well as different things that they want to see within District 4. So I'm going to drop the link for the application, and also they have to live within District 4, of course, or go to school. Give me 1 second for the link, but yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Nicole, did you?
Sorry if this has already been said, but I just want to make folks make sure you mark your calendars for Saturday, December 3rd at 1 p.m. That is the Mattapan Square's tree lighting. We're working on kind of coordinating things around that, but that's also part of the mayor's Charlie tour. One thing we know we want, we kind of did it last year, but want to make it bigger this year, is have folks create ornaments for the tree. We're going to be asking the different organizations to make one. We would love for residents to make one. We're going to ask for the kids in the schools to also make one. And, you know, Mattapan Square Main Streets, in conjunction with Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council, are going to be collecting those and getting them put up on a tree. So we're working out those logistics, but we do want you guys to, you know, create some ornaments to go up there. So yeah, Saturday, December 3rd at 1 p.m.
Last year, we had a great turnout from, I think we ended up representing over 20 different neighborhood associations with ornaments at each one, and they looked great.
Kids school. The kids at the kids school made some too as well. So
Jordan, thank you.
Hi everyone, Jordan Frias here, Chief of Staff to Councilor Ricardo Arroyo, District 5. As mentioned earlier, the mayor did sign the unity map that Councilor Braden and Councilor Arroyo sponsored together. Most of Mattapan has been maintained into 2 districts, 4 and 5, so that hasn't changed. So you still have Councilor Royal and Councilor Arroyo as your counselors. So I'm sharing the map here so you guys can look kind of closer at it. It's like an interactive link that Chair Braden shared recently on Twitter. So you can look at that. And I'm going to share my contact information again if you have any questions or concerns. I don't have any updates. The council has a meeting this Wednesday, which looks pretty short. And then we're off for 2 weeks for vacation. And then we're back the last week of the month. So not much to report on my end, but happy to be here. Thank you.
Just so people know, we do have, I'll be posting on the website, we do have a zoning committee this month on the 17th, and I believe we have 4 presentations. After that, just news. So the week of December 5th, we will have our monthly meeting on the 5th, but during that week, I will be, God willing, I will be becoming a grandmother for the first time. That is my big family news. So, yep, I'm going OG, folks. That's what's going to be happening. So I'll take any and all professional grandparent information. Feel free to share that. I know we have a lot of experts in this community, and I look forward to sharing pictures of. I'm going to be one of those people who like says, "Don't you want to see my grandchild?" And whip out, the 15 photos. I want to be that one. That's I want to be able to go to all the parks, all that kind of fun stuff. Stop it in every business. So you guys are going to have some good stuff. So Ben, I expect Mattapan Square to be looking great because I can't bring my grandson if it's shabby. So we got to have a goal. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Russell.
Good evening, everyone. I know we're at the bewitching hour, but I just wanted to just check in just to make sure. I know it was mentioned that we have some votes tomorrow. I just want to make sure. Congratulations, Fatima. Let me say that as well. Questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just want to make sure that everyone, I know there's been some conversations about it, but want to make sure I checked in and see if anyone had any questions around 1, 2, 3, or 4. In particular for me, 1 and 4 are the ones that are more controversial tomorrow. As I said in the meeting early tonight, some of us have gotten really panicked around the fact that we may have homes that are worth $1 million now and worried about number 1 is should that be a yes or no? And then number 4 is quite frankly, the most, I think, controversial of the 4 questions in that there are some folks who are concerned about those who are undocumented having a path to citizenship, having a path to voting, and what to do about if someone comes in and now wants that data. So I just wanted to just check in. Tomorrow's voting day. I need everyone to get out and vote. So any questions before you go hit those or go darken those buttons tomorrow?
Yes, Rep. Can you elaborate on 2 and 3, please? Because everybody know about 1 and 4, but 2 and 3, a lot of people are asking about it and it's kind of vague, please.
So my thoughts on 2 is thank you, Javon. On 2 is, it is intentionally meant to be vague and all of these ads are intentionally meant to confuse us. So 2 is, hey, today in the Commonwealth, if you have medical insurance, there's a certain amount of money that, I got you, I'll answer that question, Leah. There's a certain amount of money or a certain percentage that must be spent on us as claim payers. That's 88% of your medical. There is no provision for if we pay dental insurance, how much of that must be paid of our premiums back to us. So 2 says, hey, now you must require at least 83% of that to be paid. And so the question becomes, you've seen the ads and they're trying to confuse us and hey, well, our premiums could go up 38%. That literally was a study that was done about a small company and their premiums might go up 38%. But most of us are on Delta Dental. That's just the truth about it. And when you look at the information around Delta Dental, you can see that they paid substantially more last year back to their profits than what they paid to those who are their premium payers. And so I believe questions 2 should be a strong yes. because we should have some requirement. And they also put in some rules around consumer protections as well in question 2, which is important as well. 3, I'm still mixed on it, meaning if everyone went yes, 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 I'd be fine, but I'm a yes, yes, no, yes. With 3 being, I think we have enough alcohol licenses in our communities. We don't need anyone else getting any more alcohol licenses. And so the thought is, if 3 would allow for folks to have more liquor licenses that are some of the smaller retailers. Now, it does not mean that just because you can have more licenses that you're going to get that license. It just creates the opportunity for you to get more licenses. You still have to go buy them. You still have to go and get them. But I just think when you think about us in our neighborhoods, no, we don't need any more liquor licenses. We need less liquor licenses. And so me personally, I know Harry and I had this conversation. Harry's like, oh, who cares about liquor licenses? Harry Thompson, congratulations with your daughter. But I'm a no to 3. And then on 4, I'm glad you asked that question because it's taken for granted. And I'm gonna just tell you a little bit of background, and I'll try my best to be done by 8:30. The Black and Latino caucus, when we went through polls, I know I've had that conversation with you guys multiple times about peace officer standard and training. There were 2 things we could not settle on. One was what to do about qualified immunity. That is, can cops be sued? And then what to do about undocumented licenses, people who are undocumented having a license. The caucus said to Charlie, to the governor multiple times in our quarterly meetings, we believe this is very important. As a matter of fact, this is one of the highest priorities of this caucus. And the governor kept saying, and I'm gonna tell you why. He had an issue over in Chelsea where people were inappropriately getting their friends' licenses when he first got in office, 2 years in, and people were here illegally and they were getting licenses and they worked literally for the registry. They did that. And so he got burned on this. And so he is not comfortable, or he was not comfortable, he is not comfortable with will we have the amount of checks and balances to ensure that these IDs that people bring us will truly be who they are. But we in the caucus said, wait a minute, there are 17 other states that are doing this. Literally New York and California. Can you imagine how many undocumented people there are in those 2 states alone, New York and California? So we're saying, hey, if they can do that, we should be able to do it also in Massachusetts. And so I'm asking that you please support it, that from a safety perspective, those are folks who we've said, hey, we're gonna do this just from safety. Do we want people who are already on the road, because we know they're on the road, do we want them being able to drive safely, get licensed, get an ID? Now, people say, well, all of a sudden they're going to have ID and they're going to feel legit. Yeah, they will feel legit. That's just part of this. Yes, they will have an ID, but they will feel legit, but there's no path to voting. There's no path to citizenship. It's still federal challenges, and there's no opportunity for someone federally to come in and get the information. I believe it's going to be a 55-45 vote, and I'm asking definitely for your support on number 4. 1 is different than every other question. I just like to make sure you understand, because some of the stuff is coming back at us that if we change 1, it's going to be hard if we broke everything. And it would be. 1 is a constitutional change. Forever, since we've had the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, everyone in this state has paid the exact same amount of taxes. Well, that's 6.25, now down to 5%. It required a constitutional change, which meant 2 legislative bodies in 2 legislative sessions had to agree. And we agreed in 2 legislative sessions. We actually did it in 3. The first time we did it, the SJC said no. The second and third time we did it, the SJC said, yes, this makes sense. So it's a change in our constitution. If we say yes to 1, we would have the only way to change it back on this millionaire's tax is to go through that same process again, have 2 legislative sessions, change it, and then we go to the ballot and vote. And so we're asking, certainly by overwhelming House and Senate, that we use the funds to be able to pay for transportation. We need more funds for transportation and more funds for education. And that's why we're asking for yes on 1, yes on 2. I'm asking for no on 3, and yes on 4. But if you guys want more alcohol licenses, vote yes,
Thank you.
Thank you, Speedy Reps.
Thank
Very
you.
informative.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
brother.
for that primer. So now that we are at 8:32 officially, I thank everyone for allowing us the additional time. Thank you for all the information that everyone shared. The presenters tonight, for excellent presentations.
Fatima, I'm sorry. My mom just texted me. Your area has questions 5 and 6. Did you guys already cover that?
Yes. Yeah, no, but I didn't realize it was only in our area. I did it on the mail-in ballot. But they're not binding. They're not binding.
They're not binding, but they are things that Rep. Fluco Oakley is on this line. So
she had to step. Oh no, she's back. Rep. Brandy Fluco Oakley, would you like to mention about questions 5 and 6?
Sure. I can mention 5 and 6. I just did my mom's ballot with her Thursday, and dropped it off down City Hall in the drop box. So went through the ballot early. So question 5 and 6, as Rep. Holmes said, are non-binding. Question 5 is basically about Medicare for all in a single payer tax system for medical care, and would essentially diminish or eliminate the roles of insurance companies and do a trust that's publicly administered. There has been some misinformation. Can people keep their same doctor or not? And all the research says that the person can keep their same doctor, and it would be a system run by the government. So that's question 5. So if you support the single payer Medicare system and essentially diminishing or eliminating the role of insurance companies in the hopes, at least that's the goal, stated goal, to provide better health care, then you would vote yes on question 5. Question 6 is about the House rules and making committee votes transparent, not transparent, but making committee votes public in the House. That one's a really interesting question because it gets super nitty gritty into the operations of the House and how they operate. And I think for me, I have a section on my website. It hasn't been published yet, but because was on 4 committees, so I had to capture all the votes to be able to post them, where I'm fine posting my committee votes, but I'm also in a district that is more Democratic or Democratic leaning. There is an argument to be made from some of my colleagues across the Commonwealth that might be in more purple districts or more red districts and looking to have some cover for the progressive votes they make to not publish their committee votes. So this does not feel like a one size fits all thing from my perspective, but that's the number 6. That's a non-binding question.
Okay, so question 5 is about is that universal Medicare, for instance?
Yeah, that's universal Medicare.
Okay, universal Medicare. And question 6 is about whether or not electeds, how they voted would be.
In a committee should be public for the State House.
Would be public for anybody to see.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. If people would like to go and see online, the ballot questions 1 to 4, they can be found with some summaries and additional information on the Secretary of State's website. And I will also this evening, before I hit the sheets, I'll post them on our website so people can go to the link. Thank you again, everybody.
Oh, Fatima, I'm sorry. I saw 2 questions in the chat. I know we're like past the bewitching hour. I'm probably going to turn into a pumpkin at the end of this meeting, but super quickly, there was a comment about why are they not posted with the others? Like, why aren't questions 5 and 6 on the state's website? The reason is because they're only in certain districts. So not every district has question 5 and 6 on their ballot, and the state only posts questions that are on everybody's ballot. So that's why you see that discrepancy there. And then there was another question, should I vote yes or no? These are non-binding questions. So I hate to say your vote doesn't matter. Your vote will likely be used by advocates to determine whether to push the issue. So if you feel compelled by question 5 or question 6, vote yes. If you don't, vote no, but that's how it'll likely be used, since these are non-binding questions and don't have any effect on current or future law.
Thank you for that additional information. Appreciate it. Appreciate everyone staying on for as long as they have. With that, I bid you all a great good night, and as usual, I love you much, but we gotta go. Good night, good people. Hi, Suzanne. Good night to see you. Night, Kenya. Thank you so much for those questions. They're awesome. Thank you, Yano. It's so great seeing you. Well, hearing from you.
Good night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Kiki.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Harry, for your questions and info.
Great to see you, Simone.
Simone, if we, you and I have got to go on a vacation with where those palm trees are, okay?
Yes, it is.
We got to plan it.
We got to plan it, and soon too.